Druidry, a spiritual tradition with ancient Celtic roots, is known for its mysticism and secrecy. While Druidry as a modern religion exists today, its historical roots and perceived practices have been the subject of debate and misunderstanding, contributing to its controversial reputation. Druidry originated among the ancient Celtic peoples of Europe, primarily between the 4th century BCE and the Roman conquest of Celtic lands. Druids served as priests, judges, philosophers, and lore keepers within their communities, and they held immense social influence due to their role in mediating between the gods, nature, and society. This religion was not written down in any text, but instead passed down orally, which has led to speculation about their true practices. The ancient Druids are first described in Greco-Roman texts, such as those by Julius Caesar, who depicted them as powerful figures with disturbing practices, including human sacrifices. While Caesar's accounts were likely exaggerated for political reasons, they established a long-standing perception of Druidry as dark and menacing, fueling its later controversy. Followers of Druidry believed in a pantheon of deities connected to nature, seasonal cycles, and the spiritual world. Controversially, historical sources accused the Druids of performing human sacrifices to appease their gods or ensure victory in war. Accounts describe rituals where victims were burned alive, though the archaeological evidence for such practices is limited. With that being said, this perception of brutality greatly contrasts with Druidry's modern image as a peaceful, nature-focused spirituality. The Roman Empire played a significant role in the decline of ancient Druidry, as they viewed Druids as a threat to their authority due to their influence over Celtic tribes, in which the Romans suppressed their practices and targeted sacred sites. By the 4th century, Druidry had largely disappeared as an organized religion, replaced by Christianity. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the Romantic and Neo-Pagan movements revived interest in Druidry. Writers and spiritual seekers idealized the Druids as wise sages and guardians of nature. This modern interpretation led to the formation of contemporary Druidic organizations, such as the Order of Bards, Ovates, and Druids, which emphasize environmentalism, personal spirituality, and cultural heritage. Modern Druidry has faced criticism for reinterpreting ancient practices without direct continuity, leading some to accuse it of appropriating Celtic heritage for personal or political purposes. The revival of Druidry also often positioned itself as an alternative to Christianity, sparking tensions in religious circles. Despite the controversies, Druidry has managed to become a more respected religion as time has gone on. Ancient Druids also contributed to Celtic art, mythology, and oral traditions that still continue on in Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. The mystery surrounding Druidry, rooted in its ancient origins, continues to provoke fascination and debate. Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest known religions, emerged in ancient Persia and has profoundly influenced global religious thought. Its controversy stemmed from its role in shaping monotheism and its alleged exclusivity. Zoroastrianism was founded by the prophet Zoroaster in what is now Iran, likely around 6th or 7th century BCE, though exact dates are debated. According to tradition, Zoroaster received divine revelations from Ahura Mazda, the supreme god of truth and light. These revelations form the basis of the religion as preserved in Zoroastrianism's sacred text. This religion flourished under the Achaemenid Empire, taking place between 550 to 330 BCE, notably during the reign of Cyrus the Great and Darius I. Zoroastrianism became the state religion of successive Persian empires, including the Parthian and Sasanian dynasties. It also influenced neighboring faiths, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and after the Islamic conquest of Persia in the 7th century, it marked the religion's decline. Over centuries, Zoroastrians faced persecution, forced conversions, and marginalization, leading many to flee to India, where they became known as the Parsis. Today, Zoroastrianism continues on in small communities, mostly located in Iran and India. This religion is known for its dualistic worldview, emphasizing the cosmic struggle between Ahura Mazda, representing good, and Angra Mainyu, which represents evil. Humans play an active role in this battle through their choices, embodying the core Zoroastrian values, which are good thoughts, good words, good deeds. The religion also emphasizes purity rituals, fire as a sacred element, and a deep respect for nature. Zoroastrians believe in the eventual triumph of good, a final judgment, and an afterlife in heaven or hell based on one's deeds. Although these concepts seem pretty similar to many modern and popular religions, this religion was very controversial at the time. Zoroastrianism is often called the first monotheistic religion, as it worships Ahura Mazda as the supreme deity. However, Its dualistic nature, where Angra Mainyu opposes Ahura Mazda, challenges strict monotheistic definitions. This theological tension sparked debates among scholars and followers, but Zoroastrianism also historically emphasized ethnic and religious exclusivity, specifically in its modern iterations. Conversion is discouraged, and adherents often must be born into the faith. This led to much criticism, due to not being accepting of others joining. The religion's decline after the Islamic conquest of Persia is also full of controversy, as Zoroastrians were subjected to harsh taxes, social discrimination, and periods of forced conversion under Muslim rule. This history has left a legacy of cultural trauma and tension between Zoroastrian and Islamic communities. With fire being central to Zoroastrian worship, critics historically accuse Zoroastrians of fire worship, misrepresenting the ritual's symbolic nature and fueling even more religious conflict. Zoroastrian practices around death, such as exposure of the dead in the Towers of Silence, also sparked controversy. These rituals, aimed at preserving the purity of earth and fire, were misunderstood as barbaric by outsiders. With all of this being said, Zoroastrianism's impact on other religions is profound. Concepts like heaven and hell, angels, demons, and a final judgment heavily influenced Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Zoroastrian ethics shaped Persian governance, with its emphasis on truth, justice, and the moral responsibility of rulers. Culturally, Zoroastrianism's legacy persists in Persian festivals and its contributions to art, literature, and philosophy. Manichaeism, a syncretic religion founded in the 3rd century in the Sasanian Empire, which is now modern-day Iran, was once a major world religion. Known for its dualistic worldview and integration of multiple religious traditions, Manichaeism has long been controversial due to its perceived heresy, universal claims, and a suppression by dominant powers. Manichaeism was founded around 216 to 276 by Mani, a Persian prophet who claimed divine revelation and sought to create a universal religion. Mani combined elements of Zoroastrian dualism, the concept of the afterlife from Christianity, and Buddhist ethics, presenting a religion that was both global in scope and adaptable to diverse cultures. Mani preached a cosmology centered on the eternal struggle between the forces of light and darkness. His teachings quickly spread through the Sasanian Empire, the Roman Empire, Central Asia, and even China, aided by its structured missionary system and use of multiple languages in scripture. The religion flourished for centuries, but faced significant persecution. In the Sasanian Empire, Zoroastrian leaders viewed Manichaeism as heretical, leading to Mani's imprisonment and execution around 276. The Roman Empire, under Christian dominance, declared Manichaeism a heresy, further suppressing it. By the 14th century, Manichaeism had virtually vanished as an organized religion, though remnants influenced later movements. This religion preached that the universe is a battleground between the spiritual realm of light and the material realm of darkness. Followers believed that humans contain fragments of light trapped in physical bodies, and salvation lies in liberating this light through certain practices and spiritual enlightenment. Manichaean practices included vegetarianism, celibacy, fasting, and a rejection of material possessions. Adherents were divided into two groups: the elect, who followed strict asceticism, and the hearers, who supported the elect but lived less strict lives. Scriptures like the Shaburagan, written by Mani for the Sasanian king Shapur I, and other texts in various languages, highlighted its universal ambitions. Manichaeism's art was also highly influential. With all of this being said, there was much controversy surrounding this religion at the time, due to its blending of multiple other religious traditions, with followers of many other religions at the time viewing it as a threat. There was also controversy due to the elect followers being demanded to pursue extreme fasting. Despite its suppression, Manichaeism influenced religious thought across regions, and its dualism shaped medieval Christian heresies, as well as its missionary model, inspiring later religious movements. Manichaeism also played a role in cultural exchanges along the Silk Road, transmitting religious and artistic ideas between the East and West. Though the religion is extinct, its concepts of dualism and the struggle between light and darkness continue on in philosophical and theological discourses. Catharism, a Christian dualist movement that flourished in southern France and parts of Europe during the 12th and 13th centuries, remains one of history's most controversial religious sects. Catharism likely emerged from earlier dualist traditions, including the Bogomils of the Balkans, and possibly influenced by the ancient Manichaean religion. As it gained popularity, local nobles and communities offered it protection, and the movement's followers, called Cathars, or good Christians, organized themselves into a parallel religious hierarchy that rivaled the Catholic Church. Followers believed in the existence of two opposing forces: the good God, who created the spiritual realm, and a malevolent deity or principle often associated with the God of the Old Testament, who created the material world. This dualism led to a rejection of the material world as a corrupt and evil, and Cathars viewed the human soul as a divine spark trapped in the prison of the physical body. Salvation was achieved through reincarnation and spiritual purification, ultimately freeing the soul from the cycle of rebirth. Those who followed the religion in a more strict way, known as perfects, adhered to strict practices, including celibacy, vegetarianism, and non-violence. Catharism rejected key Catholic doctrines, including the sacraments, the respect of saints, the resurrection of the body, and the authority of the Pope. They saw the Catholic Church as corrupt, materialistic, and aligned with the evil principle, referring to it as the Church of the Devil. The movement's popularity among the nobility and commoners alike in Languedoc created a parallel power struggle that undermined Catholic influence. The support of Catharism by powerful nobles made it a political threat to both the Church and the French monarchy. Cathar beliefs, specifically the criticism of wealth, marriage, and procreation, stood in contrast to medieval societal norms, which created a lot of tension at this time. The Catholic Church considered Catharism an existential threat, labeling it heretical. Pope Innocent III launched the Albigensian Crusade, which, taking place between 1209 and 1229, this was a brutal military campaign to eradicate the movement. This crusade, marked by massacres such as the slaughter of Béziers, devastated Languedoc and contributed to Catharism's decline. Despite its suppression, Catharism left a large cultural impact as it inspired a lot of poetry, music, and literature. The movement's resistance to oppression and its tragic end have turned Catharism into a symbol of spiritual resistance against authoritarianism. The Albigensian Crusade and the following Inquisition systematically dismantled Catharism. Thousands of followers were executed or forced to renounce their beliefs, and the final stronghold of Cathar resistance fell at Montségur in 1244, where over 200 Cathars were burned alive. By the 14th century, Catharism had been effectively eradicated, though some argue that its ideas continued on secretly or even influenced later movements. The Taborites were a radical Christian sect that emerged in 15th century Bohemia, which is the modern-day Czech Republic. Known for their militant theology, political philosophy, and violent clashes with both secular and Christian authorities, the Taborites were one of the most controversial groups of their time. They originated during the Hussite movement, inspired by the teachings of Czech reformer Jan Hus. Hus challenged the corruption of the Catholic Church, its wealth, and the practice of indulgences. After Hus's execution for heresy in 1415, his followers split into factions, with the Taborites representing the most radical wing. The group took its name from Mount Tabor, a biblical reference that symbolized their vision of a new divine order. They established the town of Tabor in southern Bohemia as a communal religious center, free from feudal control and governed by their interpretation of God's law. The Taborites rejected many Catholic practices, advocating a return to what they believed was the pure Christianity of the New Testament. They dismissed the Catholic sacraments and priesthood as corrupt, emphasizing personal faith and direct communion with God. The Taborites were also deeply apocalyptic, believing the end of the world was going to happen soon. They saw themselves as God's chosen warriors, tasked with purifying the church and society. In Tabor, they practiced radical political philosophies, abolishing private property and living communally, which challenged existing social hierarchies. They also rejected religious imagery, relics, and church decorations, often destroying them during their campaigns. The Taborites were militant revolutionaries, and they believed in using force to establish God's kingdom on earth, leading to widespread violence. They waged brutal wars against both Catholic forces and more moderate Hussites, leading to significant bloodshed during the Hussite Wars, which occurred between the years 1419 to 1434. The Taborites' apocalyptic rhetoric and willingness to persecute those they considered heretics, including more moderate Hussites, earned them a reputation for extremism even among their allies. While they shared a common origin, the Taborites clashed with the more moderate Utraquists, leading to internal divisions within the Hussite movements. Their complete rejection of Catholic authority made them a prime target for the church, which condemned them as heretics and sought to annihilate them. During the Hussite Wars, the Taborites used war wagons and disciplined strategies that allowed them to defeat larger Catholic armies repeatedly. Due to their successes, they contributed to the spread of reformist ideas, including challenges to clerical corruption and calls for greater social equality. Their radicalism also influenced later Protestant movements, though most distanced themselves from the Taborites' militant and apocalyptic aspects. The Taborites' downfall came at the Battle of Lipany in 1434, where they were defeated by a coalition of Catholic forces and moderate Hussites. This loss marked the end of their political and military power, though remnants of their movement persisted in secret for some time. In the aftermath, the more moderate Utrechists reached a compromise with the Catholic Church, effectively sidelining Taborite ideals. Tabor itself became a symbol of their lost cause, and their radical vision faded into history. Scientology, a modern and highly controversial religion, founded by science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard in the mid-20th century, has garnered global attention for its unconventional beliefs, aggressive legal tactics, secretive practices, and its relationships with governments, former members, and critics. Despite its claims of fostering personal enlightenment and spiritual freedom, the religion is a subject of debate over its legitimacy, practices, and ethical implications. Scientology began in 1950 with the publication of Hubbard's book, Dianetics: The Modern Science of Mental Health. In this book, Hubbard introduced a system for mental healing and personal improvement, which he termed auditing. Dianetics gained initial popularity, but faced scrutiny and financial trouble, leading to Hubbard restructure his ideas into a religion. He formally founded the Church of Scientology in 1953, and Hubbard claimed to uncover the spiritual roots of human suffering, describing humans as immortal beings, or thetans, trapped in physical bodies. Over decades, Scientology expanded globally, establishing its headquarters in Clearwater, Florida, and gaining recognition as a tax-exempt religious organization in the United States in 1993, after a long and contentious legal battle. Scientology teaches that humans are spiritual beings with past lives, carrying the emotional and psychological burdens of previous existences. Auditing is a one-on-one counseling session where adherents use an e-meter to identify and resolve these traumas. The goal is to achieve a state of clear, free from mental obstacles, and ultimately to progress through a hierarchy of spiritual levels known as the Bridge to Total Freedom. Higher levels of Scientology introduce obscure teachings, including stories of extraterrestrial beings and intergalactic conflicts. These teachings, specifically the story of Xenu, have been criticized as fantastical. Scientology is known for its highly secretive teachings, especially regarding higher-level doctrines that are only revealed after substantial financial contributions. Leaks of these teachings have led to public ridicule and skepticism, and the church has a reputation for using lawsuits and harassment against critics, former members, and journalists. Its fair game policy, though officially revoked, allowed for the targeting of perceived enemies without ethical restraints. Critics argue that Scientology's practices involve financial coercion, requiring followers to pay high fees for courses and auditing sessions. The religion has been labeled a pay-to-progress system, and former members have accused Scientology of abusive practices, including forced labor, disconnection policies that require members to cut ties with family members who disapprove of the religion, and punishing members who disagree with certain aspects of Scientology. Scientology's popularity rose after the recruitment of Tom Cruise and John Travolta, and while this strategy has brought attention to the religion, it has also fueled criticism that it uses star power to make it seem better than it is. Scientology has shaped debates about freedom of religion versus consumer protection, as critics argue it operates more like a profit-driven corporation than a faith. Scientology's membership has reportedly dwindled in recent decades, with fewer active members despite its global presence. Negative publicity, including lawsuits and investigative journalism, has tarnished its reputation. However, its financial resources, real estate holdings, and legal prowess have allowed it to maintain a degree of power and influence. Heaven's Gate, which is often labeled as a cult, is one of the most infamous and controversial new religious movements in modern history, best known for its tragic ending in 1997. Founded in the 70s by Marshall Applewhite, a music teacher, and Bonnie Nettles, a nurse, the group combined Christians' view of the afterlife, New Age spirituality, and extraterrestrial beliefs, leading to its bizarre and fatal practices. Marshall and Bonnie met in Texas and believed they were chosen for a divine mission. They claimed to be the two witnesses mentioned in the Book of Revelation and preached that they were tasked with preparing humanity for a transformative event that would take followers to a higher evolutionary level. The group initially referred to themselves as Human Individual Metamorphosis and later adopted the name Heaven's Gate. Marshall and Bonnie traveled across the United States, recruiting followers by promoting the idea that humans could ascend to a heavenly realm, leaving their earthly bodies behind. They attracted a small but devoted group, often consisting of individuals disillusioned with traditional religion or seeking a sense of purpose. Members of this religion claimed that Earth was on the brink of destruction, and that salvation lies in being taken aboard an alien spacecraft which would carry their souls to the kingdom of heaven. They saw earthly life, including human bodies, as a form of imprisonment, and members were required to renounce material possessions, family ties, and personal desires. The group enforced strict celibacy and uniform living, which included identical clothing, haircuts, and diets to minimize individuality and focus on their spiritual mission. Members incorporated science fiction imagery, using terms like next level to describe their spiritual goals. Computers and technology played a role in their outreach in daily lives, and the group believed that physical death was necessary to ascend to the next level. This belief culminated in 39 of the members taking their own lives in 1997, timed to coincide with the approach of the Hale-Bopp comet, which they believed was accompanied by an alien spacecraft. The group collectively ended their lives together, in which they consumed a deadly cocktail of phenobarbital in vodka. And this remains one of the most shocking events in religious history. It highlighted the dangers of extreme belief systems, and Marshall's control over the group, and his ability to convince followers to sever ties with loved ones, and also in their lives, demonstrated the dark side of charismatic leadership. Critics argue that the group employed techniques of psychological manipulation, isolating members from the outside world, and fostering a dependency on the leader's teachings. The group's use of technology, including videos and the internet, to spread their message was innovative for its time, but it also amplified the visibility of their tragic outcome. Heaven's Gate has left a significant mark on pop culture, inspiring documentaries, films, and academic studies. Their tragic end served as a grim warning about the dangers of charismatic leaders and isolationist, apocalyptic ideologies. The loss of the 39 lives in 1997 also raised questions about freedom of religion, mental health, and the role of society in recognizing and intervening in extremist groups. The death of the 39 members marked the formal end of Heaven's Gate as an active movement. However, their website, maintained by 2 surviving members, continues their teachings. Raelism, also known as the Raelian movement, is a contemporary religion founded in 1974 by Claude Vorilhon, a French racing journalist and musician, now known as Rael, and they claim to have an extraterrestrial encounter in 1973. This religion is controversial for its unconventional beliefs centered around extraterrestrial life, its stance on sexuality and human cloning, and its challenges to the traditional religious and scientific standard. According to Rael, beings called the Elohim, who were supposedly advanced extraterrestrial scientists, revealed to him that they created humanity through genetic engineering. They tasked him with spreading their message and preparing humanity to welcome them back to Earth. Rael published his experiences in The Book Which Tells the Truth and established the International Raelian Movement in 1974. The group quickly gained followers, attracted to its futuristic theology, emphasis on scientific advancement, and rejection of traditional religious doctrines. Raelians believed that all life on Earth was created by the Elohim using advanced genetic engineering. They reject traditional ideas of a supernatural god and instead interpret religious texts as misunderstood accounts of extraterrestrial intervention. A central belief of Raelian doctrine is the belief in human cloning as a path to immortality. Followers aspire to have their consciousness transferred into a cloned body, a process they believe will one day be initiated by the Elohim. Raelism promotes free love and sexual expression as an important part of human happiness. The movement encourages sexual experimentation, which has drawn in a lot of criticism. The movement also advocates for the unification of humanity under a single world government, claiming this will bring global peace and prepare humanity for contact with the Elohim. A key Raelian goal is the construction of an embassy for the Elohim, which they believe is a prerequisite for the return to Earth, and they have even lobbied governments worldwide for land to build this embassy. Raelism's belief that all religions are based on misunderstood alien visitations challenge both traditional religious beliefs and scientific perspectives, often leading to its dismissal as a fringe cult. The movement gained global notoriety in 2002 when Raelian-affiliated scientists claimed to have cloned the first human baby, who is called Eve, though no evidence was provided. This claim sparked intense ethical debates and drew widespread condemnation from scientists and religious groups. Raelism frequently critiques organized religion, specifically Christianity, for perpetuating ignorance and fear, and this antagonistic stance has made it a target for religious communities. Like many unconventional religious movements, Raelism has faced allegations of being a cult, and critics point to its charismatic leader, strict organizational hierarchy, and focus on financial contributions for projects like the Elohim Embassy as signs of manipulation. Raelism's influence extends beyond its small membership, as its stance on cloning and sexuality have sparked debates on personal freedom. The group has also made headlines for staging public events, such as topless protests, advocating for gender equality, and campaigns promoting atheism and scientific progress. The movement's use of modern marketing, including websites and social media, has helped it maintain visibility despite its fringe status. Rael himself has cultivated a media-savvy persona, often appearing in flamboyant attire to promote the movement. Though Raelism has never gained mainstream acceptance, it has an active following, with members in over 80 countries. The group holds annual gatherings and continues to advocate for its controversial causes. However, Its influence has dwindled since the height of its notoriety in the early 2000s, specifically after skepticism surrounding its cloning claims. With all of this being said, Raelism remains one of the most controversial modern religions. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you learned something, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts on any of the religions I discussed in this video, and subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this one. Thank you again, and goodbye.